Okay guys, recently I have got a comment from Khus Patel, okay, and she's asking about how to decide the location of bracing, like at the middle bay or at the end bay. Okay, so I thought that a video would be helpful for you guys who have confusion how to fix the location for any bracing. Okay, so this video is going to be how to fix the location of bracing. And before starting the video, if you are new to this channel, please do subscribe and also don't forget to press the bell icon, okay, so that in future you can be benefited. So let's start. So this is the very general steel structure, okay, and you know that whenever we are thinking about the provision of bracing like this, okay, we are thinking about the wind load or the seismic load, okay, or rather you can say we are thinking about the lateral load. Okay, so definitely we have a medium-sized building and the lateral load in the form of wind or in the form of earthquake can come from any side. Okay, so it is always better to provide the bracing or to fix the braced wave at the middle of the building. Okay, so this is about the general structure, right? Now let's say in the front of the building you have a large opening, right? So due to this large opening, which may be used due to vehicular entry or maybe something else, okay, this particular zone or this particular portion become unstable. So in this location you need to provide some bracing for the lateral stability at your entrance. Okay, so in any general structure in association with this bracing which is being used for lateral load or the wind load or seismic load, you may need to use the bracing at the entrance also if this entrance gap is too much. Okay, so this is about the general structure. Now let's say the size of the building is too much or the length is too much. In that case, what will happen? Let's say the wind is coming or the seismic load is coming from this end. Okay, and let's say the middle bay is somewhere here, right? And from this point to this point, let's say this length is more or less 50 meter. In that case, of course, this wind load or this seismic load have to travel a long path to reach this point. In that case, I prefer to use two different braced bay at two different end, right? So that if the wind is coming from this side, it can easily transfer to this foundation through this bracing, and if the wind is coming from this side, it can easily transfer to this foundation through this bracing. Okay, so here by this method we can reduce the load path, right? Now again there is a problem. Okay, let's say in between these two bracing, this length is 100 meter or maybe more than that. In that case, of course, due to thermal expansion or due to temperature effect, this particular zone try to expand, but at the both end you have locked the structure by the provision of bracing, as a result of which this expansion, this thermal expansion is resisted, or you can say indirectly that a huge amount of thermal stress will be generated. Okay, so it is always suggested if you have to use two different braced bay, always try to incorporate that in some middle portion of the structure, like here and here, so that in between two braced bay the length is not too much, which can cause you a large amount of thermal stress. Okay, so here I suggest to use the bracing like this and this. Okay, and also let's say instead of pile foundation you need to use the shallow foundation, okay, or the wrapped footing or the isolated footing. Okay, so in that case what will happen? So now we are not using this bracing, we are not using this bracing, we are using this bracing and this bracing to cater the thermal effect, right? Now let's say to provide the foundation for this column and this bracing, you have to use a shallow footing like this and here like this. And you know that the foundation requirement at the braced bay is higher compared to normal column. So in that case, what you can do, you can simply put two braced bay side by side. Why? In that case, you can use this foundation as a common footing. Okay, so now what will happen? Instead of using these two braces, okay, we are using only this brace and this brace, and this is from economics point of view. Okay, so we have eliminated this one. Okay, so this is about wind load and seismic load and related to the structure of the building. Okay, now there is also cases related to the overhead crane like this. Okay, you know that overhead crane, when reached at the end, okay, it has to apply its brake, as a result of which a huge amount of lateral braking load or stop load is generated. Okay, so to cater that braking load or stop load at the end of the building, of course you have to provide some bracing at the end of the building also, right? Here you can see in this picture, the end bracing has been provided just to arrest the stop load or the braking load from this overhead crane. Okay, and also in middle of the building, here you can see, also in the middle of this building, the bracing has been used from wind load point of view. Okay, so this is another case. Now let's say you have multiple overhead crane which are being operated simultaneously. So in that case, what you have to do? So based on the load path, you need to provide multiple bracing simultaneously, as you can see here. Okay, so now what are you thinking? I know you are too much confused about the location of bracing. Yes, before fixing any bracing, you have to think about all the aspect. Okay, whether the major load is wind load or seismic load or the crane load. This is your first criteria. Second criteria is whether at the entrance there is big entrance or small entrance. Okay, next you have to think about the length of the building. If the length is too much, in that case the single brace bay is not sufficient. You have to use multiple brace bay. Okay, if you use multiple brace bay at the end of the building, you need to consider the thermal expansion, right? If you consider thermal expansion and you decide to put the brace bay in middle of the building, you need to consider the foundation also. So there are lots of aspects before fixing the bracing. Okay, so if you like this video, don't forget to share it.